Are there any particular incentives, or do you see any incentive structures within our profession as perhaps distorting us from these, lofty goals?
Uh, Probably for younger faculty, there's this binary tenure, no tenure outcome that looms extremely large for people. And so we have to decide if that's what we mean by an incentive. You could make a whole dissertation around how people think about that tenure choice. And we've touched on that a little bit. There are other kinds of incentives. I think often the way they operate is institution specific. The nature of a particular school or university would differ. Sometimes non-degree executive education, to use one kind of incentive, one financial incentive. In some institutions and for some people, it can be quite beneficial, bringing people closer to some interesting avenues for opportunities to be thought leaders, to see and feel the potential to make a difference in a great organization through the ideas that you have. For other people, it can be a distraction from from the work that, in a sense, they should be doing or would otherwise be doing, and doesn't necessarily represent meaningful interaction with great companies that are struggling with interesting challenges. And so I think those incentives, it's difficult to paint with a broad paintbrush whether those kinds of incentives are pluses or not so great. There was a time when sabbatical was a opportunity for faculty to immerse themselves in practice or in elements of relevance, and that is not a very strong expectation that schools seem to have with respect to the way that sabbatical time is used. Of course, there are other kinds of uses for sabbatical. It might be a deep dive into some aspect of economics or statistics or sociology, let's say. That's, again, an example of an incentive that maybe could be used in a slightly different way, although the landscape of competition among the leading schools doesn't make it easy to apply strictures to the way people would use sabbatical time. I'm a little skeptical about incentives being used more directly, especially financial incentives, to try to get people to do work or to undertake inquiry that they wouldn't otherwise have done. But I do think that exposing people to interesting questions is not really an incentive, but it is important. And if you do it well as an institution, it'll have an effect on the kind of work that people do.